Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. Here we go. French riots. What to know as hundreds of police hurt, thousands of protesters arrested after deadly shooting. Protests have led to 270 policemen injured, over 2,000 protesters arrested. Now, the thing of it is, before we get into it, 2,000 arrested is a large number. Maybe the French police take their job more seriously, writing and burning things down. And you're going to see a video here. Let's check it out. Yeah, look at this. This is really amazing stuff. Stuff burning, cars, businesses. It's bedlam in many cities around France. Let's bring the volume down a little bit. I gotta tell you, this is craziness. They're mostly immigrants from, I believe, the African continent, Somalia, places like that. I'll give my opinion on where they went wrong, just like we're going wrong in a minute. But let's just check out some of this video. Look at the fires in the background. I don't know what they're launching at police. Looks like just plain old fireworks, but it's we'll watch a little bit more. And here they come. They're confronting police. And you see the black mask on. That looks familiar, right, guys? And there's a car on fire, several cars on fire. This is not the way. They're probably... Let's turn down the volume a little bit more. It's just too loud. This is not the way to voice your disagreement. I don't care what country you're in. And oddly enough, France, at least worldwide, is known as being one of the least racist countries in the world. In fact, many black soldiers at the end of World War II found basically no racism in France and moved there and assimilated into the culture, had children who assimilated into the culture, and so on. I think we've seen enough here. Let's this is what happens when you bring so many people of the same culture that's so different than yours. I'm not saying it's any worse. I'm not saying their culture is better. The chances from assimilation are almost zero. It'll take generations. Just bring them in. If you want to bring in that many, bring them in piecemeal, one at a time, spread them around the country. Don't put them in areas of big cities. Look at places in Sweden. If you're a Swedish national, there's certain places in your capital that you can't walk down the street in certain sections. It's incredible. You bring in too many, and I'll put them in one spot. I use the example in Minneapolis. There's Minnesota. There's I think it's Omar, Congress member Omar. Represents. Where it's a majority on their city council is Muslim. Now, I have no problem with Muslim people, never have. But when you put that many into a small area, it disrupts the culture. You have to bring them in slowly over time and let them just assimilate into the culture. They don't have to change their Muslim religion or their Islamic faith at all. Oh, gosh. I mean, it's just... There's been a ton of immigrants into the European Union. And as we all know, the European Union basically has no borders. Riots have gripped the suburbs of Paris and quickly spread to other towns and cities across France following the death of a 17-year-old during a traffic stop. But how did the situation spiral so far out of control? What's happening? There is the consequence of a failure to integrate the country's Muslim immigration population. Ellen Mendoza, co-founder and executive director of Henry Jackson Society, told Fox Digital. The France of legend is far removed from the daily realities of life in a ghettoized community. Now, he's basically saying it's all because of racism. But he is right, though. It's the failure to integrate the country's Muslim immigration population. They put them all in one areas in certain towns, and it festers and it festers, and the anger just explodes. And he said that's all because of racism. It's not. Now, I don't know all the details on this young man that was shot and killed by French police. And you have to remember, they have a national police as well, so I'm not sure who's really in charge. You know, in total, more than 2,000 arrests have been made over a 5-day period of unrest around the country. President Emmanuel Macron, who I can't stand. By the way, Macron, not too long ago, pleaded with the West, please don't bring your woke nonsense from social media and culture and put it into Europe, and especially France. He was even mad. Macron postponed his scheduled visit to Germany as a result of the unrest. France's Minister of the Interior said on Saturday the average age of those arrested was 17. Yeah, they're all younger people. They weren't born in France. They're immigrants, and they have not gone into the culture. They have not assimilated into the culture. Secretary General of United Police Union Gregory Jordan said police haven't seen such urban violence in 18 years in so many cities around France. And you can read the rest of the article about how they were approached in the car and, you know, and what happened and why he was shot. I'll slowly go through it. There's a picture of a burning what was left of a bus. And then you get all the details of what they have so far. They're taking the offending officer into custody, open an investigation. Reuters reported in an interview with French television, a police officer's lawyer said his client had aimed at the driver's leg but was bumped when the car took off, causing him to shoot towards the chest. Obviously, the officer didn't want to kill the driver. It's not that easy hitting a limb only. This isn't like on the Westerns where they shoot the gun out of your hand or you shoot them in the leg. It's not that simple. The individual was Algerian and Moroccan descent, had no criminal record. Well, he had several times he was pulled over without a license and without insurance and fake plates on his car. You know, I'm not trying to say the kid was a bad kid. He had planned to become an electrician. Macron had provided a mixed response to the crisis, initially describing the shooting as inexplicable and unforgivable, but then decrying the protests and blaming everything from social media to video games for the increasing violence. It's this is all too familiar tale. He argued that social media, including TikTok, Snapchat, and others, helped fuel the riots, especially after the personal information of the officer who shot Nael ended up circulating the platform. We call this in America doxing. We provide the information where an individual or individuals live. It would work with social media to take down the most sensitive content. And here we go. I mean, I'm not a big censorship person, but I don't know. I really don't. This is what happens when progressive left ideals meet the real world. It's a powder keg ready to go off, and this young man's death set off the explosion of rioting. They bring in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of migrants from the African continent in the Middle East, and they don't allow them to assimilate. They stick them all, or they basically shove them or push them all into certain areas of town, so they're controlled by those migrants. They're not assimilated. There isn't like 5 families over here or 10 over here. They're all put in the same area. They did it in Sweden. They do it in England, all the European countries. They're all leftist countries. It's amazing to me. Oh, gosh. The young man's mother accused the police of responding violently to an Arab face. Of course, you're going to push the race button. I have no idea whether that's true or not. While he had no criminal record, the young man had been a subject to 5 police checks since 2021. That's 2 years, and had refused to comply with an order to stop. Most of the stops involve either driving without a license or insurance and using false number plates, i.e., we say in America, false vehicle plates. And you see 2 cars burning there. They belong to innocent people. Actually, 3 cars burning there. They belong to innocent people, maybe even the same migrants. I did it in Washington, D.C. when Trump was sworn in, where they burned up, they firebombed a limousine that was owned by an immigrant. Oh, gosh. And they have, videos about, they say there's a cover-up and yeah. Protests have violently clashed with police since the incident, with increasing numbers of arrests as demonstrators have hurled rocks and fireworks at police officers, set vehicles and trash on fire and defaced buildings. Innocent people's property. The first protest occurred in Nanterre, but on the third day it spread to other towns such as Paris proper, Marseille, Lyon, Toulouse, I believe it's Strasbourg, and Lille. I'm not big on French. Rioters in Marseille robbed the gun store, taking hunting rifles, but not taking any ammunition. Thank God for that stupidity. It's like stealing a car with an empty tank of gas. Thank God they didn't take any ammunition. And look at these burned out buses. Millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. There's more clashing with police. It's out of control, folks. It's out of control. All because your immigration policy sucks, just like ours does. But they brought these people in with the permission of the government. Our government let them come in unlawfully, but they let them in anyway. But in this case, they were all brought in under French law. But they were brought way too many, way too quickly, that could not assimilate into the culture. Just like the tens of thousands of black World War II American veteran soldiers that stayed in France at the end of World War II, because France was notorious in the world for the least amount of racism to black people, especially black men, who assimilated very well into the culture because they were spread out all over. They weren't all congested, and there weren't 10 times as many. There's no chance that they can assimilate into any culture besides their own. And the cultures are way too different. They have to be melded together slowly over time. He called an emergency meeting on the National Assembly to decide how to handle the protest, eventually deciding to deploy 45,000 officers in armored vehicles and try to tap down on the protest. I will give them credit. They've arrested over 2,000 of them. They don't put up with it and try to stamp down the protest. Initially, law enforcement agencies only deployed around 9,000. That's a lot of officers, 45,000. My town that I live in upstate New York is about 45,000. Following the emergency meeting on Thursday, Macron called the clashes absolutely unjustifiable. Yes, even if it was true, even if that police officer was totally in the wrong, you don't destroy hundreds of millions of dollars, in this case francs, just because you're pissed off. It's just amazing to me they did it here in the United States and throughout 2020 in the George Floyd riots. And believe me, this kid, at least so far reported in the news, is a saint compared to George Floyd and others here in the U.S. As of Saturday night, Reuters reported the situation was calmer with sporadic violence erupting across parts of the country. I'm sure they try to stomp it down, including Marseille and Nice. In Paris, site of the next year's Olympic Games, police added numbers to the Grand Avenue after social media was said to have called on protesters to gather there. And you see more pictures here. When asked on TV news channel whether the government would declare a state of emergency, he said, this is Macron, quite simply, we're not ruling out any hypothesis, and we'll see after tonight what the President of the Republic chooses. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. It's just complete and total chaos. Total chaos. We'll go bring some of the pictures here. There's the burned out buses. There's the fireworks and the rocks being thrown at police. Thank God the people that went broken in that gun shop only stole rifles and no ammunition. Now, they still might use them later for attacks on police, but at least they didn't have them right now. That would have been unbelievable bloodbath. There's 3 cars, probably owned by immigrants to France, or just innocent people in general, enough to be from another country. It's amazing to me. Look at this crowd being egged on by the same grifters we have here in the United States. Believe me, people just don't suck in the United States, these grifters. They're all over the globe, and they're fanning the flames of discontent. They want chaos. They want anarchy. Another bus in flames. And they show some police officers. Look at that fire. You know how hot that is? I've been near a fire once. I was across the street and one door down. The next day, still got a sunburn because it was so hot. And this is the beginning of July. So there you have it. French riots, hundreds of police hurt, thousands of protesters arrested. It's a very similar and ongoing tale. Eventually it'll burn itself out. But how much death, how much destruction, and how many thousands and tens of thousands of millions of lives will be ruined forever, just like they did in the George Floyd riots and the rioting of 2020. And it mostly seems to hurt the same people they're trying to supposedly help. It's amazing to me. I kid around on this channel and call them idiots, and I'll say in French, idiot. Well, they are idiots. The French rioters are idiots. It's amazing to me. What do you think? Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.